We are so close to spring training and getting baseball season started, so let's look at some positives to watch for the Nationals in 2025.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, and of course, over on YouTube for the video version. Again, just search Locked On Nationals. A little bit later on in today's program, what are some negatives to watch for the Nats? And, there is some balance here in 2025. There are some positives, but there are also some negatives. And we're going to get into that as we start to preview the 2025 Washington Nationals. But of course, we start off with what are the positives for the Nationals? And while there are negatives, there are a lot of positives heading into 2025. And we'll get started with that. But today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So, we get started with today's program discussing some Nationals positives heading into 2025. My number one positive, really just kind of headline to watch, is James Wood and Dylan Crews, and more so the development of each of those guys. As we head into 2025, this is going to be the year where you have that young core of guys develop and be the core of the Nationals for the next, hopefully, decade plus. You've already got a few sprinkles of it with C.J. Abrams, Luis Garcia Jr., Mackenzie Gore, but James Wood and Dylan Crews are kind of the finishing touches of what could be a postseason team and what could be the core of a good postseason team, watching them compete in October, and these two guys will be at the forefront of it. You already saw them and get a taste up in the majors just this past season, but I think this is the year where both these guys being former number one overall prospects in the game, this is the year that they will really kind of take off. This is going to be the year where James Wood might hit 40 home runs. This is the year where Dylan Crews could have a 2020 season. These are the two guys that you will have to watch every single day from April all the way through September and hopefully October. Everything, I hate to say this, but everything kind of relies on these two. The offense is going to go through James Wood and Dylan Crews. The defense is going to start with Dylan Crews in the Gold Glove caliber defense that I expect to see in right field. And they are the future of this organization. If you were to ask me who is the face of this org, it's got to be between these two players. And again, being top prospects, being some of the brightest young stars in this game, they're going to have to show their worth. James Wood is 6'7", a freak of nature out there on the baseball field that you simply do not see all that often. We know the kind of talent that he has. You know the home run power that he has. And Dylan Crews, on the other hand, you know all the skills that he possesses. This is going to be about Dylan Crews and James Wood in 2025. And that's my number one positive as we enter into this season here. Also, Mackenzie Gore has improved each of the last two seasons. What will he do in 2025? I think Mackenzie Gore is going to establish himself as a definite number two starter and a possible number one guy as we get on with this season. Mackenzie Gore, the thing with him, similar with a lot of young pitchers in today's game, inconsistencies has really hurt his outcomes in a lot of different scenarios here. I think this is the year where he really hones in on his craft and finally takes that big next step that we've all been waiting for. If you were to ask me today, as someone who is on this staff already, who has the Cy Young upside? For me, it's not even that close. It's Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore is going to be the guy where if you want to have an ace kind of guy, This is your one shot. Jake Irvin and other guys in there. I think DJ Hers is going to be taking some big steps up as well. And also, just looking at this pitching staff as a whole, while it's not the staff that I wanted to see come opening day, there is certainly a lot of upside here. And it's a lot of young guys. And you also have your veterans like Trevor Williams and Michael Soroka, who will probably be at some point decent for this organization. But the young pitching core of this group is going to be an exciting one to watch. But overall, I would have liked to see more, I will admit. And there's really kind of two sides to this coin, but overall, you have to be excited with where this pitching staff is headed as far as a development standpoint. Also, this kind of coincides with the two things that we've been talking about, but the young core of guys that we have. This is a young baseball team. This is a team that is very unproven with a lot of guys who were top prospects, but simply have not either panned out just yet or haven't flashed all their potential. But again, looking around the diamond, C.J. Abrams, a former top 10 prospect in the game. Mackenzie Gore, former top 10 prospect in the game. James Wood, Dylan Cruz, number one overall prospects within the last year. And also Luis Garcia Jr. at one point in time, a top 100 prospect, still 24 years old. Looking around this place, there are a ton of former top prospects here. This could click. And maybe this is the vision that Mike Rizzo and the Lerner family saw, that they want to see this young core of guys moving forward. And maybe this is just what they envision for a postseason team in 2025. These guys will be exciting to watch nonetheless, whether they're winning games or they're improving each and every single day. There will be something to watch for every single night. And I think that is a very bright thing for this team to really kind of look forward to as we head into 2025. But that's not just that. A big trade acquisition from this offseason from the Texas Rangers, first baseman Nathaniel Lowe. Now, while Nathaniel Lowe, he has kind of dropped off statistically over the last two seasons, he is still someone who has won a Gold Glove. He has won a Silver Slugger. He has won a World Series. And he's still relatively young and has a few more years of control left. And by the way, we traded away Robert Garcia for him. That was a great trade from Mike Rizzo. You got a ton of value back for someone with Robert Garcia, who quite frankly is pretty damn replaceable. But now you get to watch a first baseman in which it solves a couple issues with this team. While Nathaniel Lowe isn't necessarily known for like some big power, he does have that display and he has put it on display for quite some time. But he's also a stud defensively. He has won a Gold Glove. He has won a World Series. We were talking about this yesterday with our guy Ben Strober, but leadership is going to be an issue with this team when it's all said and done. But I think Nathaniel Lowe, and even some I've seen in the YouTube comments like Josh Bell, could take those steps up and be those veteran leaders. I think Nathaniel Lowe is going to be a very intriguing watch as we get into 2025 because of kind of what the unknown is. He could kind of fall flat on his face, but also he could take off and win a Silver Slugger and win a Gold Glove. And in both those cases, the Nationals need both of those things. So that's going to be an exciting thing to watch. Again, as we're just a few days away from pitchers and catchers reporting, and also Nathaniel Lowe reporting down to spring training. Last but not least, there is an exciting group of prospects to come. Brady House, a former first-round pick, he should be up by midsummer. Yohandy Morales, a former second-round pick just a few seasons ago with Dylan Cruz, he's an exciting bat to watch. Where will he be? Will he be at third base? Will he be at first base? Will he DH? We don't know necessarily at this point. But there's an exciting young core of prospects that will be coming up. And also, by the way, you've got the number one overall draft pick this summer. So the Nationals are going to continue to add more talent and pile on to this young core of guys. And it's going to pay out very well, hopefully, for this Nationals operation. But to wrap up all the positives, you've got your top guys with James Wood and Dylan Cruz. You've got Mackenzie Gore that entering a third full season here, you expect him to take that step up. You also got your young core of guys overall, Jacob Young, Luis Garcia Jr., Keibert Ruiz. What will he do heading into 2025? There's a lot of exciting things for this Nationals team, and also the new acquisition, Nathaniel Lowe, and then overall, the exciting prospects that are yet to come. Now, with all those positives in mind, there are also some negatives. And unfortunately for the Nationals, the negatives might outweigh the positives. But we're going to keep it light and simple here on Locked On Nationals. So let's get into that. But before we talk about the negatives, let me tell you guys about our friends over at PrizePicks. And the big game is almost here, and there's no better way to make it even more exciting than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings awarded, PrizePicks makes it fun and simple to get in on the action. But let me tell you about this. I can tell you how it works is that you pick more or less on at least two players' projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. PrizePicks even has a free pick for the game where Patrick Mahomes only needs to throw 1 yard to win. Pair that with one more correct pick, and you are cashing out. This week, I'm looking at the board and selecting more for Travis Kelce on receiving yards and more for a quarterback's passing yardage. What I love most, fast, safe withdrawals. When I win, my cash is in my account in as little as 15 minutes. Check out the promos tab to tail any of the super sweet Millie winners, big game lineups. And if you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And if you haven't done so already, check us out on YouTube, search Locked On Nationals, and hit that subscriber button, drop a thumbs up, and even drop a comment if you're feeling a little frisky. Now we have to get into some negatives for the Nationals in 2025. And I don't want to harp on these all too much because I know people, they slam me for being too positive and they slam me for being too negative. That means we're doing pretty well here. So you have to balance this out. And let's get into some negatives here. There is a lack of veteran leadership on this roster. Now, again, I saw someone point out this yesterday. They're like, well, Josh Bell is here. Yes, Josh Bell is here. He is going to be a leader. We have seen that from him. But what I need is like an established veteran for this organization. Someone who has been here since, even the Patrick Corbin days. Like, I think Patrick Corbin, and losing him this offseason, while you should not re-sign Patrick Corbin, it should not even be in the deck of cards that you have. Losing him is going to be important. Mackenzie Gore, a lot of these young players who are coming up who don't really know the quote-unquote Nationals way and how they do things in this organization, that's a little bit lost at this point. I'm going to be interested to see who steps up and becomes that guy. I think Josh Bell is a great answer for someone who could be that because he has been in this organization. He has been with Davey Martinez. He's been with Mike Rizzo. He's been with a lot of talented teams in the past, but who's going to be that guy? Because the Josh Bell is, he's on a 1-year deal. Who's going to be the guy for 2026 and beyond? Because I don't really expect Josh Bell to be here past the trade deadline, if we're being that honest. So is it going to be Mackenzie Gore? Is it going to be Keibert Ruiz? Is it going to be James Wood or Dylan Cruz? Is it going to be Luis Garcia? Who knows at this point? And also another guy could be Nathaniel Lowe. And maybe that's what the Nationals have in mind as far as that veteran clubhouse leader from the guys who tell CJ Abrams, hey, maybe don't go out to the casino until 6 a.m. Or Luis Garcia Jr., let's prep a little bit more and get ready here and get on time and do whatever you have to do before a game and set that routine in place. These are the sort of questions that we may not think about all too much, but having that veteran leadership is going to be an important thing for this team. Second, there are no substantial free agents on this roster. Now, you might be wondering, what do you mean? Well, the Nationals did not make any splash signings this offseason. And yes, I guess you could say Nathaniel Lowe files into that splash acquisition. I was thinking more so Pete Alonso or Christian Walker, someone of that nature. But this is an overall negative. Because again, if obviously the players don't talk about this publicly, but I'm sure if you were to ask them behind the scenes, like, what do you think about ownership not dishing out a ton of money in free agency? And not just to anybody, but to get that veteran guy, again, like a Pete Alonso, who doesn't cost all that much, or to go out there and sign Corbin Burns. You see all these smaller markets making bigger moves than what the Nationals have this offseason. There's no more excuses. So not having that star player to come in the building and kind of sweep guys under their feet, that is going to be an issue in my opinion. And it's not just an issue as far as fans go and as far as people just wanting to see stars in the building. It just kind of goes to show you where we are at with ownership, which leads us to our third negative heading into 2025. Ownership is still in limbo. And yes, I'll say it again. We don't know what is going to happen with this ownership group. You cannot convince me that right now that they have 2 feet in the door. They don't. They maybe have 1 foot in. We have seen this family go all in the past, and while there was a different principal owner at the time, I have still seen it. They have done this in free agency. They have gone all in. They have spent big. They have gone for huge star players. They have signed Max Scherzer in free agency. They have done everything that you could possibly ask for as far as ownership goes. But right now, today, you cannot convince me that they are all in on this organization at this point. And I think that is a frustrating part for not only the fans, but also the players of this organization. And that's going to be a problem because just like players and just like fans, we can all see that when there is smoke, there is some fire there as well. And I don't know if the owners at this point in time will sell. I don't know if they're going to stay put and go all in once again. But you cannot convince me that ownership is not still in limbo. It is. We don't know what the future holds for the Nationals. We don't know what the future holds for this team moving forward. Will they put it back on the open market again? Well, Barry Svaluga of the Washington Post, he discussed this just a few weeks ago in his story that the Nationals have not had any bids from Ted Leonsis here as of recent. And he's been the guy who's been rumored to buy the Nationals once again and try to put them on Monumental Sports and fix all the different issues. But it still does not seem that we will have an answer to that by the end of the season. Also, there is a lot of unproven talent on this team. Now, again, this is a two-sided coin. Unproven talent, we're not saying they're going to be bad, but also not saying they're going to be good. It could go both ways. But with that said, I would rather know that my team is going to be good or it's either going to be bad. Like, I would like to know, like, are we going to tank this year? Are we going to win 65 games? Are we going to win 60 games? Or are we going to 85 to 90 games? We don't really know at this point in time because, again, the beauty about prospects is you never really know. Like Juan Soto back in the day, we had an idea of what he was going to be, but we never knew that he was going to be a $700 million guy or $800 million guy, whatever he is at this point. You did not know that. Bryce Harper, we knew. Steven Strasburg, we knew. I think we know James Wood, and I think we know about Dylan Cruz. But other than that, Keibert Ruiz, who's already gotten an extension, what is he going to be? CJ Abrams, what is he going to be? Luis Garcia Jr., can he build off a career year? We don't know at this point in time. So a lot of unproven talent could lead to a lot of questions of this team moving forward. And we just do not know where they stand. My last negative, I want to kind of go a little deeper on this. But Davey Martinez could be managing for his job. Now, should he be in that bucket? We'll discuss that after we tell you about our friends over at Gametime. And I can tell you this, attending NFL playoffs games is just an unforgettable experience that brings fans together. And I can tell you a few years ago, I went to a Washington playoff game and it was electric. While we did lose at home, it was one thing that I could remember, the excitement and of course the energy of a playoff game that I just attended, and I'm looking forward to making new memories this season because Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks. Makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And if you're going to the Super Bowl this weekend, I can tell you this, use Gametime Picks to find tickets for that Super Bowl because the super deal is especially impressive for this offer, and they offer the best value for the event. And the app's features like seats views before you buy and all-in pricing with no surprise fees at checkout made the experience smooth and reliable. Plus the on-time ticket delivery and lowest price guaranteed gave me peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Let's get into Davey Martinez here because I think this is going to be a pretty crucial headline as we go on with this season. Now, let me just lay the groundwork with this. Davey Martinez, there are a lot of people out there who give him way too hard of a time. Davey Martinez has been told to make chicken salad with chicken you know what for years and years and years. The one time that you gave this guy a healthy World Series caliber team, what did he do? He won the World Series. Now, yes, you can talk about the pitching decisions and having him be too low-key with starting pitchers and pulling guys after 5 innings when they've given up like 2 hits and they struck it out 10. I understand it. I hear you, and I get the sentiment. But let's give Davey Martinez a little bit of an easier time. I do not think that he should be on the hot seat, but let's say the Nationals win 70 games again. I think it will be a conversation to be had for Mike Rizzo and the guys. Because at some point, you do just have to win. And the Nationals do have better talent than what they did this past year, and even the year prior to that. They are finally respectable again. This team could make noise, and there is an argument to be had there. But I would stop by saying Davey Martinez is a lot better than what you would think. Again, he has done it before. There are not many managers out there who can win a World Series. You should not just move on from Davey Martinez to get a spark from the clubhouse or whatever it is. Because a lot of teams in baseball, and really just in sports in general, that's what they use. They use the head coach or the manager, and they kick him out of the building, and they're like, well, we need a spark. But I think Davey Martinez is that spark. And for a young team that, again, we're harping on leadership, Davey Martinez has that leadership right here and there. He is good at controlling the clubhouse. He is a good manager of sorts. Now, again, some of his in-game decisions, they're bad. I understand that. I hear it. It's frustrating at times to watch. But I think he's the guy for where this Nationals team is right now. I'm not saying he's Terry Francona. I won't even go as far to say that he's maybe even a Bud Black for the Colorado Rockies, even though I think he's a little overrated as well. But where Davey Martinez sits, he is a pretty damn good manager. Now, I'm not willing to just kick him out the door because I can tell you this. If you boot Davey Martinez, he will get a big-time job. He will be the next manager of the New York Yankees per se. Davey Martinez is a pretty damn good manager, and I'm not willing to sit here and say that, yeah, he should be on the hot seat. I think we should give Davey Martinez a little bit more time and ultimately be patient because when he has had a good team around him, he's won a World Series. Think of that again. If you put a good team around him, he has won a World Series. So let's put a good team around him. Let's go in free agency and sign some star players in order to help these young core of guys. Because Mike Rizzo has done all the hard work, but Davey Martinez should not be catching flack for having a pretty poor roster these last few seasons and not having good results. So take it easy on Davey Martinez. But thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.